right. Welcome everyone for another episode with our guest Michael Schwan here, episode number 2. Today we have some other exciting topics that I'm really curious to pick his brain about the great experience that he has and some strategies and some insights from his 100 plus races that he's done. Welcome, Michael. Thanks for being here for another podcast.
Yeah, hello, Momo. Nice to be there again. And I'm looking forward to your questions. And really enjoy that people listen to me and are interested in this webcast. So I think when they click on it, it seems they are interested. So thank you very much for joining.
They are indeed, and you're a really great source of knowledge and experience with what you've already done. And let's get right into it. The first question that I have was, how do you approach the race strategy for different courses and conditions? Because you've raced almost over the world. Last time you said the first race was in Australia, and then the first triathlon was in Bangkok with the dirty river water, and then the first Ironman was in Australia, and then you obviously raced in Kona in Hawaii. Then you raced Utah, which was really cold, and then you raced Nice, which was a high elevation. So a lot of different environmental conditions, hilly courses, flat courses, wind, hot, cold, different conditions. How do you go about your race preparation, and how do you approach the strategy that you built for the race? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. Okay. So as you mentioned, I did actually 100 races. So pretty much half of them were half distance races, and nearly 60 were long distance races. So here we talk predominantly about the long distance. Mm-hmm. And the question is a good question, because there are not many people that you can ask that question. You can ask a coach who has coached 100 or 200 or several hundred people, and these people have done 100, 200, 300 Ironmans, but this is all individual. You would have to collect individual feedback from all of them, right? Mm-hmm. To get a good idea. In my case, it all comes down to what I say, because I did the 60 Ironmans. So it is all standardized with my own perception. So the strategy, of course, changed over the time, because in the beginning you have no clue really what comes, and then it is a unique experience, and that's it. And on the race number 50, let's call it now race number 50 or race number 100, you anticipate so many things, that because you have experienced so many things that can go right, that can go wrong, and you anticipate. So when I start to a race today, in my mind, in my head, basically all these things are coming together. Let's give an example. So if I go in the morning to the race, mm-hmm. right, then when I look around, my eyes see a lot of things. It is not something that I do by purpose, but I see people fiddling with their gels. I see the sun that comes from the left. I see that there is some sand on the ground and stones that I might step into. I see a lot of things around me that somebody who has will do the first Ironman, he will not see that. Because he is so focused on just getting to his bike, putting the bottles on, and getting to the start. But I see all these things that can make a difference.
For sure.
Not only
is it like a conscious thing? But
no, it's well, it is. I'm in a high state of alert, and because I also see others. Yeah. So when the guy next to me on the bicycle, I see him fiddling with his bicycle. Mm-hmm. Right, so I see that he's putting plastic on the chain to avoid the humidity during the night or something. I see all that stuff, and I could tell him, well, forget that thing. First of all, it is oil; it will not rinse off. Secondly, I checked the weather forecast; it's not going to rain. you're just losing time. You might get disqualified because you put plastic on your bicycle. So I see also things from other guys. You know,
No,
but I'm not.
and you learn from that. Okay.
Yeah. So when you ask, your question was a bit a different one. You said the race strategy, how that changed, how I adapt to it. In my case, I think because with that anticipation of all the things that you need to consider, it is a little bit an automatic thing. Because the word strategy means that you sit with a coach, you say, oh, first you do this, then you do that. If this happens, you do that. But you will write 10, 15, 20 things maybe on a sheet of paper. That would be your strategy, right? You will say, oh, I will run very fast, or I will go on the bike a little bit slower. I will eat only bananas or only nuts or whatever. That will be the strategy. But in my case, the strategy is a list of 1,000 things that I have in my head. So it's not really, the strategy means something like a bigger strategy. In my case, I don't need a big strategy. It is more like a instant capture of what's going on here in that race. And then I determine it on the spot because I see everything that is happening around me. So that is probably the difference between a first timer who will only think of, put the bottle on the bicycle and walk to the start. That's all that comes to his mind, right? How do I get from my bicycle to the start? So he will just look at the sign, trying to find the white box or the white bags. He will only do this. While he is doing that, I'm seeing 100 other things. It's sometimes a bit crazy because it distracts myself from the race, because I see so many things. Yeah.
And
anyway.
There's some that's, I mean, for sure that the experience plays a huge role, not only on the racking up the bike before the race, but also during the race. I bet that you have a lot of from experience that a lot of things went wrong in your first races that you could avoid later on. I don't know, for example, just jumping on the bike and seeing that something is off in your first race, you would most probably just quit or just be so stressed that something is off. And on your 17th race, number 70, you'll be okay. I'll just deal with it on the fly, And what was something that a race where things didn't go as planned, and how you adapted on the fly, on the go? I bet that every race is, I mean, with such a long distance, you obviously have a lot of factors to consider, and we talked about it a little bit on the last episode. But what is something that comes to mind that especially I guess in the first races that you had to deal with it while the race was on, and you was so determined to finish that you had to figure it out on the way? Does something come to mind?
Yeah, well, we discussed a little bit before, but there are so many things that come to my mind. I think that what I could say is what is maybe the most interesting or most relevant to other people is also let's start first with the safety aspect, right? I've seen once I was in Mallorca in the Ironman. We came out of the water, we go on the bicycle, and then I see two guys in front of me, making that example by purpose because I would like to stress also the safety aspects of an Ironman.
Yeah.
But the two guys, apparently, they jumped on the bike. By chance, they recognized that they know each other. And then they wanted to wish each other luck. And one was putting his hand to the right side, the other one, his hand on the left side. They wanted to clap the hands. And then that happened right in front of me on the first 50 meters of the bicycle. It was a huge road. There was no space restriction, was not jammed. And then the other guy, he misinterpreted it. So they hooked their hands into each other and both fell already at a relatively high speed against each other on the ground. I think on the shoulder, probably the race was finished.
Wow.
So this is a thing. Then what happened to me in Singapore, I was on also for the safety aspect. I'm saying that because I assume there are a lot of newcomers also listening to this. I was on a race and then you had to make 5 laps. And the last 500 meters of each lap was a small road where you could only fit 2 bicycles next to each other. And then they had the rail, the fences, the metallic fences.
Yeah.
But there was actually a guy, he decided to ignore all the precautions. He wanted to pass me. His handlebar from the steel, he had a race bike, right? His handlebar got stuck in the fence. Right next to me. He was actually, because I see him next in my eye, I see him next to me. I hear it rattling. I see the shadow that his bike is flipped around. And then I hear about 30 bicycles, because it was so narrow, all jamming into him. So you can imagine that kind of thing. These are newcomer mistakes. You know, these are newcomer mistakes. So like I said in the other episode, you can have a big strategy and then you do stupid things, right? Then the other one that happened to me is, I'm talking now about stupid mistakes, right? Not the complicated ones. There are complicated ones as well. When people hear the word strategy, they think of something ooh. But a lot of times there are small mistakes that make a difference. So when I went to Hawaii, I thought, well, this is once in a lifetime thing. You need to get your body prepared. So I was doing my training, all that stuff. And then I thought, oh, well, but in Hawaii, it's very hot. The feet will get sweaty. And I better make sure that my feet are getting enough moisture so that they are flexible. That was my idea. So already weeks before, I started to put the cream, the specific foot cream to moisturize my feet. Well, I did also other things. I did other stuff, but in particular, I did this. So what happened is, I had never, ever had in any race any problem with my feet, except in Hawaii. Because what happened is my feet were so soft that in combination with the high salinity of the water, that is very high salt water, and the high temperature, and in the bike shoe, the socks would not dry. They would not get dry during the ride. Normally, after a while, when you in Europe and so, they will get dry even if you have wet socks. But there the humidity was so high, so I was basically 5-6 hours with the wet shoes. And when I started to run, I was in a good mood. I thought, okay, I made the bike. Now the run is my thing anyway. I started to run. You will not believe. After 200 meters, I thought I had a stone in my shoe because I felt there was some pain underneath the foot. After 200 meters in the marathon. So in the end, I said, okay, it can happen. Maybe when I put on the sock, there was a stone. So I stopped, which is already stupid. I stopped, took the sock off. There was no stone, so I put the sock on. Then came next 200 meters, and it started on the other foot. So I realized that cannot be that you have 2 stones and 2 shoes at the same time. So then I realized I stopped again, sitting on a bench. I have never sat on a bench in a marathon or in an Ironman. And in Hawaii, in my nice race, I had to do that shit. So I was sitting there realizing that I was getting 4 huge blisters under the foot.
And that's
not
the
tiny
first kilometer.
That was on the first. It happened straight away because probably they were getting so soft during the bike with all the cream that I had put on. The skin was so fine. And then when the run came, where the foot moves a little bit after 200 meters. So in the end, I tell you what, it was nearly unbearable. It was unbearable because, you know, when you have blisters and you run on, when the blister are underneath the foot, it's again a different story because you cannot put the foot, if you have it on the top or on the front, you can move the foot. But here, you had no chance. So I had pain all the time. And you know what, at the end of the day, I have to say, after 1.5 hours, sort of, I had forgotten about my blister. Now you can say maybe the blister, well, after the race, it looked really terrible. So it was not gone. It was still there. It got worse and worse and worse. But in my mind, I focused on something else because there was something else to do. And in the end, I had a very good marathon time. I had 3 hours, 50 minutes at that age in Hawaii. Was not that bad. When I take off the time, I was sitting on the bench and fiddling with my shoes, and it would have been something like 3:40, 3:35 or something. But well, yeah, you should not quit. The race is over when it's over, and when you put so much effort in, really think twice before you quit. Even if you have something, well, if you have something that will have a serious impact on your life or on your well-being, then it's clear. But don't get distracted too much. Don't get too distracted too much if you have something like that.
Yeah, I was yeah, it's a funny story because at my race in Hawaii, I had blisters myself for some weird reason. I don't know. I've tested the socks. You told me that story before, so I was sure not to make it, not to duplicate it. But so I wasn't putting any cream on my feet. But for some reason, I had blisters because of the socks. I guess something went wrong there. But anyway, just on top of that, just how do you like what's your mental process with the physical and mental demands of an Ironman? Like in the race itself, how do you go about like what's in your head, and in the preparation phase, the whole like weeks and months in advance before you go into the race? How do you like manage that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So maybe we separate between mental and physical, but there's also a connection. If you don't feel good, instantly you have a mental problem. Huh? And if you are mentally somehow distracted, you somehow get also a physical problem, whatever it may be. Yeah? Because you are limiting yourself in your movement, you're getting too stiff and too anxious if you have a mental problem. So the two things go together, but just for the sake of simplicity, maybe we separate. Maybe let's start with the mental, because mental is relevant for any sport. So if you are a 100-meter sprinter or a snowboarder who has to do loops in the air, then you need to be on the spot. You only have 30 seconds, 10 seconds or something. This is one story. Here in these Ironman races, the issue is that you get distracted because it's so long and boring. It's like watching a long, boring movie. And even though maybe the movie is not boring, it's interesting, but to keep the focus, on the race and what's going on, in particular in the marathon, becomes a huge problem, because the English word is being lulled in. You're getting lulled in. Because on the bike, usually when the bike course is engaging, if it's not like in Hawaii, always straight, then you're still fresh, you don't need to worry about getting lulled in. When you come to the marathon, that is where usually you lose a lot of time. You don't forget all your aero helmets and your aero wheels and this and that and all the nutrition stuff. Forget all that stuff. But when it comes to the marathon, one mental aspect is that you are anyway already in a group of people that has about the same pace than you have. They all run more or less at the same speed. There's not many people that just pass you like this, because they would have passed you before. And you're getting lulled in. So it's so boring-ish. And what you need to do at that point is, because being lulled in, being bored, getting like this, is not because you are fatigued. It is a mental fatigue. That's correct, but it's not a physical fatigue. So what you need to make sure is, because you're not allowed to listen to music. So one possibility would be you put the headphones on, and then you're getting some music, or you would get some drugs that would make you high or something. But all that you need to exclude. So you have to prepare. You have to prepare your storyline before you go on the run. As soon as because once you're on you have no time and you have no mental capacity to think of something. You need to prepare these stories beforehand. And then you look on your 5 fingers, you prepare 5 engaging stories. Not stories, maybe the wrong word, but 5 things that you want to do on the run. Yeah, one is, for example, you could try to solve mathematical formulas. You know, the other one, you could think of the 5 best race finishes you had. So just that your brain keeps working, not making it too complicated, not making it complicated mathematical formulas, but something that is more demanding for the brain than just running. You know, it doesn't need a lot of things, but prepare the 5 before. And don't prepare more than 5, because if you prepare 20, then it will go like a washing machine in your head. It will make you even worse. So that is for the mental piece. And then the physical one. Well, the physical one, there are several aspects. What I always repeat all over again when people ask me that question. In the end, you need to assume that you have enough energy, because it's all about energy. It doesn't matter if you are a professional or if you are simply a 15, 16, 17-hour finisher, but the body has enough energy. And if you drink your cup or 2 cups with a little bit of salt, okay, then we don't want to go into the detail of this now, but then there's no reason why you should stop or why you should slow down, because the fat that you have on the body is enough. The only question is the body able to burn that fat? It's like as if you have a car, the car is full with gasoline, right? But you're still driving only at 20 kilometers per hour. So the problem is not that you don't have any gas, because the gas is full. The problem is that you do not press the foot on the gas pedal in the car, or that there is something in between the gas pedal and the gas tank where you have a leak or something is restricting the flow. But it's not that you don't have enough gas. Huh? So that is the thing. So the physical demand for an Ironman is that you have to mentally be sure that you have enough energy, and that you need to ask yourself always, why am I getting slower? Why do I want to walk? What is the problem? Of course, if you have a muscle pain, if you have an injury kind of thing, or you have blisters or something, right? Or you're getting dizzy because it's too hot or whatever, that is a reason. But physically, the human body is made to go a very long way in terms of energy. What is holding him back, unless he's getting sick or getting an injury, but what is holding him back is actually the head, right?
The mental
capacity
aspect.
And the metabolic capacity to use the gas that he has on his body. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Mental is, especially for such a I get it. The short distance, like the sprinters, also have the mental part of the whole race. But what I especially like about long distance racing is that this very, very long time that you're on your own, and you at some point inevitably you're gonna end up like asking yourself, can I just quit? I'm not. You, as you said, if it's something like health issue that you get injured and stuff, okay, that's a different story. But
separate story.
But if you're like, oh, I'm tired now, and I just feel more comfortable walking and just feel more comfortable like quitting, that's not. This is like the part where for me it's the most interesting, where it gets funny to make your brain push your body further to get it to the finish line. And that's the funny part for me. But on top of that, just to maybe just wrap up this episode, and just how do you go about the recovery between like after the races, because you race so often, how do you give your body the time to recover, and what's something that like your top tips to balance recovery and training and racing, so that we stay healthy for the long term?
Yeah. Okay, that is also a good question to somebody like me, because who else can you ask the question, right? There will be trainers or people who were writing books or reading books, but they have not experienced by themselves. So in my case, I remember the first Ironman I did in Switzerland. Afterwards, I could virtually not walk anymore for a couple of days. And I had also another one of the first ones where my legs were getting swollen like crazy. I couldn't put the jeans on anymore because there was like an edema. There was so much water inflow. Everything I was drinking I was not peeing it out. It was just staying in my body.
Storing in the body. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. So I bought compression pants, long pants to get rid of the water. But that afterwards, it never happened again. So I assume there is also an adaptation thing. But the most important thing is that there are a lot of stories being told about you can do only one Ironman or one marathon in a year or something like that, because otherwise you have damage. Of course, that there will be people who are basically dead after one marathon, because we cannot say everybody is the same. This is clear. But always speaking about the extremes is also not a good idea. Now you can take me as you want, but honestly, I have to say I've done 4 times 2 Ironman in 1 week. Actually, once I did even back to back. So one weekend after the other, just a week in between. And once I have done also in 1 month 3 long distance and 1 half distance. So basically each weekend something. And you will find other people who, there are a few other guys who have done more. What I have to say is, in all cases, I was better on the second one than on the first one. Now, of course, the second one was not the same. It was in a different location, different conditions, blah, 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 blah. But obviously, it didn't cost me too much. You know, there was not a huge difference. Actually, I always felt better because the body was still, he had already recovered after 1 week to a state where you had no problems walking around. I could again run. That all happened within a few days. And then he was still in a high alert. You know, he was still sort of in the fever. And then that gave probably also a second push. But recovery, the important thing is what people write but what you can read, I think this is actually right. A big role plays that you give the body a lot of proteins and amino acids, and also during the race, you can really accelerate. And this is not talking because I read it in a book, it's because I tried with and without. If you consume amino acids during the race, in particular during the last stages, you can limit the problem of the damage that you have in the muscles to a large extent.
So you start the recovery during the run already.
Yeah, because like with bodybuilding, it's the same thing. In order to build muscle, you have to destroy the muscle, and then you rebuild it with proteins, right? That is what you do in any sport. It is like this. It's like catabolic, anabolic thing. The issue is that why would you wait until everything is torn down and then drinking a protein shake 2 days later? That will still help, but the closer it is to the actual damage, the better.
Yeah, makes sense.
So
makes total sense.
I had always, I'm not the only one who's saying that, of course, but it's just a matter of how you do it. So during the run, I always have a box with pills because the amino acids, they don't taste well, and they don't like to mix things. I don't like to put them into the main beverage that I have, because then everything is getting muddled up. So I have these amino acid pills, and then on every aid station, I'm popping 1 pill. So this is completely legal. It's not doping or something. Amino acid is like protein, and they don't need to be digested in a complicated way, because they disintegrate instantly. They don't do anything to your stomach, right? If you would drink on a hot marathon a huge bottle of a protein shake, you will vomit, right? Because the body, he will need so much energy to digest all that protein. But for amino acids, you don't need anything to digest, right? And
They're
they go
already
straight
broken
away
down
to muscle.
protein. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also noticed this, and that is if you asked me, you wanted to ask me for the number one tip. The number one tip in terms of nutrition and also staying alert during the marathon is actually amino acids also for the brain.
Yeah.
Well, that is difficult to prove because the metabolism of the brain is different from the metabolism of your feet, of your legs, but still it has a similar effect, in my opinion, as coffee. Coffee also plays a huge part. Unless you were drinking coffee like crazy already before, then the body will, for him, it is no longer invigorating. But if you slow down your caffeine consumption the week or the 2 weeks before the race, not putting to zero, that will also cause problems, but slowing it down, not drinking 5 cups of coffee every day, just drink your 1 coffee in the morning and that's it. And then during the race day, then you can add 100 milligram of caffeine now and then. Because then these 100 milligram will have a bigger impact as if for somebody who is drinking every day 5 cups of coffee.
Accustomed to caffeine. Do you do that caffeine in powder form or in tablets as well? What's your preferred method?
Well, honestly, my opinion is that the best way is I'm using from Power Bar the no calorie. That is the funny thing also. I'm using the 0 calorie tabs, and they come with caffeine and without caffeine.
Okay.
And then I don't need to worry about the pills. But at the end of the day, a little tiny pill is much easier because you can separate then the caffeine from the amino acids, from the carbohydrates, from the protein. So I keep and the water. I basically have 5 things on the bike and on the run, and I keep that separate. If you would mix them all together, because in the nutrition shops you can buy these mixes, right? You have already amino acids, the protein, the carbohydrates, the electrolytes, all that stuff. But then if it is not so hot and you don't sweat so much, what would you do with all these electrolytes? It's never going to be the right thing. So I prefer to keep that separate. And salt tablets is the same thing. For a beginner, it may be a bit complicated because he will have then like a pharmacy store around his body with different pills. But that would be part of a race strategy that you make up your mind and you test that also before, not during the race, how much you need to take. But the body will also tell you. The body will tell you. So if you're getting fatigued, just pop a caffeine pill. And the amino acid pills, you will not do any damage. You cannot do anything wrong with it. Unless you have an allergy against amino acids or you never tried it before, then okay, that is a different story. But you should never try something that you have not tried before. And then don't overdo it. Don't pop 20 of those pills. But that is not part of our webcast to go into nutrition details.
That will be a great future episode. I'm sure about that. We can talk in a lot of details. I remember our first ever meeting that you were talking for 2 days straight, and I was like just trying to comprehend all of the knowledge that you've compressed in that time frame. So it's a lot of information there that we can discuss in future episodes. And I'll be glad to have you around for another. We will have you around for another episode, and that will wrap it up for this one. Thanks everyone for joining in. Thank you, Michael, and please follow, subscribe, and see you at the next one.
Okay. Bye. Okay. Bye everyone. Thank you, Momo.